Hey guys. Hey Stuart. William Henry, g'day. Mark, hello. Chirp, g'day. Peter Noddle, hello. James B, good morning. Bill Baggins, who, despite all he says, is the only person who actually got an actual video out this week, which is pretty awesome. Well done, Bill. Haven't watched it yet, but it is there. Fridge, g'day. Chirpy, hello. Matt's, hello. Paul's house, g'day. Tea and Biscuits, hello. Having said that, T&B was one of the people who actually finished a car build this week, so that's pretty awesome. So it's all happening. It's not all happening here, unfortunately. Very quiet. Very quiet. In this room, there's very little happening. This 3D printer's been going pretty hard, but there's not a lot else happening. I've cut some parts. I haven't done much. I've had a bit of a holiday, actually, from steamroller stuff, to be honest. Bit of a holiday. We had a CAD live stream last night. I don't know, I guess everyone saw that. There was strong viewers. I don't know if anyone was actually interested in CAD who watched it, but we're going to have one every week and sort of mess with that and see, get everyone a little bit interested and passionate about CAD work and see if we could actually get like a whole some sort of a, I get a lot of people ask questions about CAD and what software do you use, and no one's ever showed me how to set it up and I don't know where to go with it. And I started off with AutoCAD version 14 and it's completely changed. I don't know where I am, etc, 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 etc. The CAD in the build competition would be fantastic for T&B. You've freed up a few projects, so you've got space to do something. Peter's using big words. It's not particularly helpful for anyone. Paul's house, righto. Fair enough. Now we know that. Chirp's been busy too. Chirp's been making patterns flat out. He's got some cool stuff coming out. He's sort of getting good at this pattern stuff. Which is awesome. I've ordered a heap of, sort of doing a bit of 3D, a bit of laser cutting and stuff for jobs. That pump's still sitting there. Hasn't actually anything happened because I've had a holiday. This coming week we'll have some changes on that because time to get back into it. But I needed a holiday really to get away from it. So that's what happened. There's all sorts of stuff going down as far as steam engines go. There's stuff going down this weekend. But I've been messing with this. So that's really a procrastination thing. Yeah, Dan says there's lots of stuff going down. I thought you'd be in a meeting, Dan. But Dan's been pretty constantly meetings all week. This is the story of my life. This is one of those things that we've been taking a bit of time with. Dan had his, sorry, I could have called you, Dan. Sorry. I was going to, and then I thought, oh, you were busy. Oh, crap. Mark Osborne, good day. Peter, no, there's still 1,000 issues with this. These issues don't sort of fix themselves. You've just got to make something and see if it works and then try again. So we've got a painted chassis, which is pretty nice on the little Foden. I think this just might lift off, maybe. There we go, we can lift the cab off. And we've got the big gardener all installed. The tail shaft's not very long in this. I don't know if you picked that up, but not a whole lot of tail shaft in it between the diff and the gearbox. It's pretty short. It's a bit of an angle on it, but we're trying not to deal with that. A few jobs have been done. We've got an air tank in the back because we've got an air compressor on the motor. Is the plan to have the cab always removable? Probably not. I think the sides on the bonnet are going to be removable, which is this piece and this bit. They're held in with magnets, so you can see through it now, but they've actually got sides go on there, and you can lift them out with tweezers nicely. Probably going to make this one hinge, so you can lift it up. And make the doors open. Did I just say that? I think I just said that. Yeah, make the doors open, so you can see the motor. Because when that radiator goes in and this goes in and the front goes on, I don't think that it'll lift off over the top, because the front's got quite a curve in it, and the bottom panel sort of hangs in past the radiator quite a bit. So it's not going to come off forever. It's just dust. Slowly coming together though. So we've got all the underside with the wood paneling and everything. We've got the steering wheel, we've got a handbrake in there, see, there's a handbrake unit in there. We've got a gear lever to go in the middle, that isn't in place. It's not cab over, no, it doesn't tilt over. It's a forward control vehicle, and it's got a bonnet the same as a conventional truck, but the bonnet's actually in the cab. So if you want to work on it, you basically open the door and stick your head in there. It's a pretty miserable thing to work on. All English trucks are like that. That's how it is. So that's that. We're working on these 3 panels, which are quite a lot of challenge actually. You got no idea. We have got the steering in, so this is a white metal front end, which is really nice. So that's all sorted. Tyres have got a little bit of weathering on them. I think I'm going to pull the tyres off again though, and I'm probably going to re-clear these hubs because they could do with another coat. Got fuel tank with the straps and everything looking pretty good, with some issues. One is that the creases in the end of the tank don't line up properly, so they're not quite straight, so I'm going to have to fix that. Whether we probably tilt that way and turn the bands around a bit, that would probably fix the problem. But we're going to have to, whatever we do, we're going to have to print another fuel tank. Bit of a dog of a thing, this Gardner in a truck, but anyway, it's a big engine. Prime and levers are on this side, mufflers on this side, so you've got an actual lift up hinge hood on this side, so basically it lifts up and folds over. So you can get to the prime and pump and air compressor and generator and all that stuff that's likely to go wrong. And oil filter here and oil filter, etc. The other one has just got a panel that sits down in there and locks down. And I don't think that ever comes out much because the other side's only got the exhaust really and the water pump. So that's that. We've modelled these seats. You see, them seats have got actual real like cushion shape in them. Pretty impressed with that. It's a bit dusty sitting here. Needs to sweep off with a brush. The steering wheel is supposed to have the speedo in it. Not sure how we're going to go about that. Still got a few months with this, so I'm not actually going to. I'm going to go a month or so without touching it much probably. So this will be the last update for a bit. But there's some complicated 3D printing to go on in it. We've got the cab mounts sorted here. There's 2 brackets and the cab mounts are on the back. So they haven't got the rubbers in them yet, but there we go. They line up. Got a radiator to go in here and the fans around and everything that goes on after the engine goes in. Got batteries for the battery box. I'm not convinced that that's where I want to be with that. The air fridge, unless you want to do a water pump or you've got an exhaust fire or something like that, and then you probably want to get it off pretty quick. But anyway, yeah, this is don't know. It's only a little fella, this air compressor. Anyway, so there's a fair bit to go on this. There's a tail shaft on the chassis once the engine's in. Wheels falling off. There's no hubcaps on any of it yet, and there's no fancy chrome plate caps on either of them either. There's an exhaust pipe comes down here and out the side somewhere, I think. There's a steering box that goes on the side here and sits under the floor there. Actually, the steering column should be bolted straight on the top of the steering box, but the steering box we've changed that so that this will go together in 2 bits. And that is probably going to have a lever down here to the steering rod. Hey, Ian. There's a brake cylinder here somewhere, right? There's still a handbrake lever to go on this rod here because I left that off. It's still got to be painted and put on that rod across the... Well, you can't see it from there. There's a handbrake rod there in front of the diff. And it's got a lever on it. And it's got a handbrake cable comes through to the handbrake, which is in here. Which is basically a sprocket and a chain to pull it tight. So it may have actually had a handbrake that worked. Or it might not have. It looks pretty beefy compared to the Bedford. There's a hydraulic brake cylinder and a lever in behind the steering box here. There's a muffler goes in. There's a control rod with 2 rubber grommets that goes through this hole in the gearbox to change gears, and that comes up here to the gear lever somewhere on the floor here in the inside. So we've got to put that in. Fuel sort of lines and things, they've got to do something with this fuel tank. It's got to have the pans in the right spot on it, and it's got to have a sediment bowl on the bottom of it as well. It's probably a little bit bigger diameter than I would have liked, but that's the hangers I could get. I've got hangers, commercial hangers, because I couldn't really think how to mould them properly or what they needed to be like, and these are quite nice. So that's how it's looking. I'm feeling like the next job is probably to put the motor in properly and the tail shaft and call that done, and then start some of the plumbing and pipe work and stuff. I don't know if it needs very much of it, but it'd be nice to put a mirror under it and be able to see all the detail. It's the best way to hide the 3D print lines. With this, there's no 3D print lines. You tell me where the 3D print lines are. Come on. What 3D print lines? This one's got 3D print lines in it because I've printed it in 2 halves to get some detail. It's going to need, when I've got it fitted, it's going to need some filler and some sander and some filler on it and some primer before it gets painted. So that's where we're going. 3D print lines on the seats. Yes, there is, but we're going to live with that. Probably could have put some filler on them or sanded them. Too late. There's probably some in the back of the cab, but it's just plywood, so it doesn't look terrible. So anyway, that's that. It's a Foden S18, which is this, it's an FG, I guess, which is a highway truck. I've got some really good fillers. There's some good products out there nowadays in like 2025 compared to the last time I did something like this. Jeez, it was probably 25 years ago or 20 years ago. And you had Tamiya products and you had Humbrol. That was about the extent of most modelling gear back then. Now you've got these amazing European brands of water-based products. There's some really good stuff out there, which surprised me a bit. This little Vallejo. Tamiya putty is probably really good. What I've used on this so far is green stuff, which I really like too. And most of the panel work and everything will sand nicely. So this is just coated primer on these to bring them up pretty nice. I could probably do with another one, but we'll see how that goes. This one's been brush primed after the cab mounts go on, so I've sanded that a bit, but it probably wants a bit more. Lots of work with a sanding sponge. Now, I don't know if I'm going to put this on or not, right? It hides a lot of detail. It also says it's not a finished model. It probably needs a trailer. So I'm sort of very much like to have about a 20-foot float on it, but I don't think the single axle drop front float would be really nice on it. But the other thing we could do with this, and it's quite common, is to put a ballast box on it, which is basically a wooden tray box, a short wooden tray box with an angle top, with supplies like oil drums and weights and stuff in it to give it a bit of traction. And then you've got a tow bar truck for moving a four-wheeled or moving a drag, I guess you would call it back in the day. Now we call it a dog trailer here in Australia, which seems to be the thing. You know, we went through this whole stage of having pig trailers and dog trailers. And when I was younger, most trucks, and when you went and did your license, you did it with a pig trailer, which is basically a trailer with two sets of wheels right in the middle, and that sort of balances a bit. Nowadays we have dogs and quad dogs and things, and very few trailers are built like that. So fashion changes. I was thinking about that, but yeah, it wants a float and a steamroller, but a float probably until the 1970s had wheels front and back anyway and a drawbar generally. So we're still thinking about that. What I should have done, and I didn't think about it again, I'd already given it some thought weeks ago, and now I didn't think about it again until I'd already got paint on this, is should have put some magnets in this so that we could just drop this one on or drop the other one on and hold them in place, but didn't happen. So I'm not sure about that. Probably if you were changing this over to put a ballast box on it or a turntable, this plate would stay in place and the ballast box would fit over the top of it, but not sure about that. And honestly, I can see why they put a ballast box on them instead of a turntable or a fifth wheel or whatever you want to call it. It's because running around light, it was certainly a much nicer ride, I think. This thing would be all over the place. It'd bunny hop and carry on, because the back springs are so much gearing in the back wheels and the back springs are so heavy. See, Dan, that's where things get right out of hand. That's the sort of, it's people like you that bring unrest to the whole thing, foster difficulties and things. I really see, if we're going to go there, this needs a scam or contractor, and probably you know, early DAF or something like that to go with it, with drawbars all in between them, and probably a road locomotive in front. But one bit at a time, right? I've got until the end of August to finish this and submit it for the build. It's coming along pretty nice. I'm not going to stop, but I'm probably going to give it a break for a bit because I've got stuff going on. We'll talk about that in a minute. But it needs a trailer, and I don't know whether we put a ballast box on it and a drawbar trailer, or whether we put a proper float on it with a drop down front float. Then whether you put a steamroller on it, and then the whole thing becomes difficult, because when you're looking, this is where it gets out of hand, because when you're looking in the bookcase, you find a Jake's J15 3/8 yard excavator, which was an Australian version of the RB10 Ruston dragline or track crane. I've got parts book. So nice little 10-ton drag line on it. It'd be very nice on the back. So anyway, that's where we come unstuck. So you know. But I'm probably going to get this finished. I'm going to build a shelf along there, I think, up the top. Up there maybe on the sticker board or somewhere. And probably wants a glass case on it or something. I don't know whether we're going to put it there or what we're going to do. But it'd be nice to have it on display in here when it's done, with its load and everything. So anyway, that's what we're working on. And that's what I've spent way too much time on. And that's sort of, it's going to change because we've got stuff to do. But that steering wheel is not actually fucking fixed there. It's only just sitting in there. I just remembered that. But that fits nicely. I have some tea and biscuit stickers and they haven't happened yet. I've got some parcels to send out. You know I'm hopeless at this. I'm not the person. But I probably should do some mail this week or next week. Actually, I might sit down and do that tomorrow night. See what happens. Some stuff to go to Peter. There was a parcel, like a care package, come from Peter yesterday, which was very cool. Or Tuesday maybe, Monday maybe. It turned up. There's a wireless microphone which would be awesome for a GoPro. Really good. It probably works quite nicely on my laptop too, but I haven't been using it because last night's live stream required me to have the second computer screen plugged in, and that means that the HDMI port is right next to the USB-C. So we probably need to do a few little things to get that working. There you go. Did you hear that, TMB? Stuart's going to send some stickers back, so I probably should send him one. Got him here ready to go. That's TMB's sticker there. It's very nice. Next to Nigel's from Go Create. Did he have a new video out this week? I think so. Oh, actually, I'm not seeing this week's. The shed shop hasn't got any AU stickers. No, that's a bit hopeless. Fridge didn't have a video out this week, but he's been busy. And he's forgiven because he's busier than I am. And I just took a few weeks off and had a holiday and did some other stuff. Had a look at this. Right. This is catalogue part 2, number 62. I like catalogue part 1, but haven't ever seen it. I'm not sure there's a date in this, actually. I'm not sure what date is on it. Mark might know. He might have a copy of this. But, see, there's one of these for sale in the UK for 275,000 quid that needs about 60 grand spent on the boiler by all accounts. So, probably not a good buy, but that gives you some idea what a road locomotive is worth anywhere in the world. 350,000 by the time you get it back. Someone commented, put a Facebook post about it, and someone commented that it needs someone else to buy and send bankrupt, and that's sort of the truth. But bit by bit you can make them work and you can keep them going, but actual making progress on restoration is a big ask. Anyway, all the telegraph codes and stuff, if you want to send to Martin Place, in Sydney, or telegraphic codes. It says they're contractors to the Lords of the Admiralty and the Council State for India, the Crown Agents for the colonies, the Agents General for New South Wales, Queensland, the Cape of Good Hope, etc. British, Russian, German, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, Hungarian, Austrian, NATO, Egyptian, Dutch, Japanese, Abyssinian, Afghanistan, Romanian and Turkish governments. There you go. Anyway, there's the steam plough works. Pretty impressive. I don't know whether, I guess it probably was the steam plough works. I tend to find that all these drawings of big industrial concerns in the UK look the same. So it might be just a generic drawing. Anyway, there's that picture that Mark has shown a few times with the erection shops. It's the boiler shop. A small fitting and tool shop. And larger tooling shops. Some of the larger parts of our engines are manufactured. What have we got here? We've got a stack of diff gears. It's all happening. So, nice book anyway, it's a reproduction. General information for intending purchasers. You need to know the kind of roads in which the engine has to work and their general condition, or lack thereof. Righto, if we'd known that, we probably wouldn't have bought a roller. That's where I'm at with that. Ready bridges or culverts to be crossed and give you possible and approximate weight they'll carry. Ditto. Or failing bridges, state if fords or drifts have to be crossed, in which case give depth of water. Steepest gradients engines will have to negotiate whether they're in favour of or against the load. If possible, a rust estimate of the length of the steepest gradient. The quality and kind of fuel to be used. The longest intervals at which water can be procured on the road. The weight and distribution of goods to be hauled per day, and the length of the journey proposed to be made each day. None of which would have been realistic to anyone buying in hindsight after they bought the traction engine or the steamroller or whatever. Copies of testimonials received from all our customers in all parts of the world will be sent on application. Anyway, various types of engines manufactured there. They made agricultural engines, which for other agricultural engines is not real common actually. They built lots of road locomotives, a few showman's engines, heavy haulage engines, superheated road locomotive, that's a big engine that. Traction engines with cranes. There's a 12-ton roller with external gear. And an 8-ton roller with steel plate rims. The 16-ton roller with a scarifier attached. That's a big roller, that. A little 6-tonner. And 10-ton roller, which is what I've got, sort of. And a 14-ton roller with independent scarifier. There's a great machine here. Don't buy one unless you really need it. That's exactly right, Bill. Various types of engines manufactured continued. Oil tractors in catalogue part 4. Doesn't say. Steam tractors, catalogue part 6. Traction engines with special road wheels. There's bog wheels. Part 2, colonial engines. Anglo-Argentine engines. Portable engines, locomotives of all gauges. Catalogue Part 4. Never seen the other bits reprinted. It's a bit of a pity, really. And there's some engines actually doing some work. The latest type of agricultural engines. These are really nice little engine. That one's what do we got here? That's an R, I reckon, and this little fella here might be a T series, maybe. Don't know. Yeah, it's a bit hard to tell. It's a nice little engine. Take care. Thanks, Paul. There's a list of cylinder sizes and things if you want to work out what horsepower your engine is. Things like that. Road locomotives for heavy haulage. Lots of different ones. Big engines. Standard road locomotives. Patent spring gear, all that stuff. All this modern equipment. Look at this. Balloon launching. A very useful thing for balloon launching. Very unlikely that the balloon's going to actually move that. Something to bear in mind, Fridge, that engines are very useful for balloon launching. Use of the winding forward drum. 75 yards of steel wire rope. And this is instructions for that. We should read that at some point. Antiquated methods of road transport. Look how far we've come. 2 elephants, some camels, bullock team. What's this one? A mule team. More bullocks. There we go. And then there's some early types of traction engines. Things that probably didn't really... Curiosities that didn't get off the ground. This is a bit nice. I like one of them. Convertibles. Convertible roller is one that you take the front off and you can change it into a traction engine, you see. Put one front end on it, you've got one of these, and put the other front end on, you've got a roller. Now, that's as opposed to conversions, which is quite a common thing with rollers, is people put traction engine wheels on them and call them traction engines because they can't be bothered keeping a roller on the road. Rollers are not as romantic. So, engine with a couple of engines with nice grains on them. This is all stuff Fowler made. Bolton or wood block wheels and bottle wheels for soft ground. Very useful thing. Need them. Basically they fold round and you've got its own road bed as it goes round. Big superheater engine. Don't see a lot of them. There's a few Robies coming out with superheaters, but you don't see very many Fowlers with superheaters. This one's actually got a wood burning basket on the back that's genuine. Doesn't help with visibility, I don't think. Anyway. Stump pulling engine, there's one of them in Queensland in the process of sort of being restored. It's on display at Petrie in the Steam Museum there. Big engine. So it's a road locomotive with a few less details and a much bigger winch, like a serious big winch, big rollers out the back, and a winch nearly as big as a wheel, or a winding forward drum. English and foreign options for forest work, and this is for traction engines. Hauling large castings and girders. This is quite a load. Anyway, good book. Military spec road locomotive. Little colonial engine. That one's probably a oil burner, I think. Be a straw burner, but that's a fairly rare machine, a colonial like that. Don't think I've ever seen one. Even a picture of one. And of course, ploughing equipment. Direct ploughing and balance plough engines. The Fowler patent oil tractor. I don't think there's any of them left either. That's very interesting. I think horses are probably a little bit quicker. Probably a whole lot easier to train. Just saying. Some interesting high and low pressure portables. Back to front one there with the cylinders at the front. That one's got the cylinders at the front too. They all do. Never seen one of them. Anyway, moving on. Traction wagons and living vans. I'd very much like one of these covered traction wagons. This is what would be very nice. One of these. At some point it will probably happen. I'd very much like one. But it's another 10 grand and another 5 years that I'm going to have to go without things if I do it. But one of these would be very nice. It's a pole wagon and tipping wagons, side tipper and end tipper. Big wagons for heavy castings and things. Look at this, pretty solid gear. Drop bottom doors, farm wagon, all this stuff they made. Box wagons, tender wagons. That's a bit cute. Don't think I've ever seen one of these. And here's this thing here, is water carts, which I was getting to. It's a couple of different water carts, quite a few different styles that Fowler made. And there's one of these wooden framed ones, like this, existing in England. It's the only one I've ever been able to find that actually exists, and quite often if you look for Fowler ploughing engines you see one of these on the field behind it in blue and red, which is the Fowler plough colours. Not a real common thing. And these are all wooden frame ones, and this is a wooden frame one. It's got the auxiliary pump on the side. And it's got brakes as well. Now, this is the steel frame 4-wheel cart. I didn't believe that there's any of them left, but I have managed to procure one. So that's a future restoration project. There's something that's happened more definitely, and I've sort of been able to talk about a little bit in the last week or so. So as soon as it happens, we'll get some pictures and things. But this is the Fowler four-wheel cart, which is nearly as big as the engine actually. It's 2.2 metres tall. The engine's 3 metres tall. It's the top of the canopy, and it's 3.2 long and 2 metres wide apparently, and it weighs about a ton and a half. And it's a bit of a mess compared to this one, and this one's pretty tidy compared to the one I picked up. But I believe that was imported from South Africa, probably back in the 70s or the 80s. I don't believe that there was any of them ever come to Australia that I've ever seen. So that's the water cart. Our water cart barrels are constructed from best mild steel plates with flange ends and fitted with hand pump, delivery cock, suction hose and strainer for the filling of the barrel, and delivery hose for feeding the engine tank. I don't know if this one's actually got a pump on it, but this one certainly does. The frame is usually made of well-seasoned and thoroughly selected timber and carried on steel wheels with cast iron bosses fitted and renewable bushes. Steel frames can also be supplied. Brakes are fitted acting direct on the cast iron bosses on the hind wheels with a drag bar, and a drag bar is provided for coupling to the engine. This type of water cart is specifically built to withstand the shocks occasioned when coupling in train, being improved with a through drag bar provided with a through drag bar and coupling socket at the back, similar to that on our traction wagons. A spring drag bar with suspensory springs can be applied at extra charge. I believe mine probably, and we're going to call it mine now, probably has a spring drawbar, which is really nice because you don't have to sort of pick it up and guide it in. So that's quite a big thing, but that's what's happening. So there are pictures on Discord of it. It's in other places as well. I haven't sort of jumped around because it's coming from a fairly public collection. I don't think everyone has a chance at picking over as it gets smaller. So I haven't really said too much about it on social media, but we'll get it back in the hidden away in the bush under a tarp before we sort of say too much about it. And even then we might not say too much, but that's it. That's the Fowler water cart. It's quite a pleasant looking thing, whether it gets painted blue and red, which is the Fowler plough colours, or whether we just paint it to match the engine, I don't know, but that's a long way down the track. It's got new rails and a new tank at the minimum, and I'm not sure what's left of the pump or the brakes or anything else. Probably not very much. Anyway, there we go. Poor fridge. On this side, there's a portable hand pump. This is what we need for washout pump. And this little fella here, which is also a washout pump. But this is pretty cool. Methods of loading and unloading traction engines. This is a very useful page to take careful note of. When you're unloading it off a ship, that's how you do it, apparently. When you're loading it on a railway cart, that's how you do it. That's how it looks in the bottom of a boat. I'm not convinced that it's something I really want to do ever in my life. There's all the gold and silver medals that have been awarded and the gold cups awarded. And the list of awards. They get a few awards, admittedly. Well, they got a few. To all whom these presents shall come, greeting. This declaration is certified that the attached official award ribbon to John Fowler and Company of Leeds Limited by the authority of the Louisiana Purchase Exposition, bearing the signature of the president and the director of exhibits, don't know who they were, and the holder thereof has been granted by the juror of awards. The award is thereon inscribed. Attached official warn. So grand prize for steam traction engines and wagons. Probably they were the only people that entered, because I'm not sure if Fowler's really the be all and end all. Water cart, 300 gallon capacity, which is only a small one. 194 foot 4 inches of cubic feet. 2100 weight. What's 2100 weight? I'm not sure that's of anything to go by. So that's the interesting Fowler book. You heard it here first, but anyway, Journeyman Randy, good day. That's Fowler. I still love Fowler steamrollers, and I am still a little bit passionate about it. I am. We've had 3 weeks or 4 weeks or something where I haven't really even touched on it. I've been needing a break from it pretty serious, because all I ever do is Fowler engine bits, and I'm glad to do something completely different. Yeah, I think it was just something to pad the catalogue out. Excuse me. Anyway, it's been good to do something different. We need to get this done. This time next week, we need to get it all ready to go back on the engine very, very quickly. So that's got to be done. So we're going to get a bit passionate about that this week. That's the thing. Apart from that, there's 1,000 other projects. I haven't even looked at that guard for the launch. Sorry guys. Haven't even looked at the thread cutting attachment. I did clean the lathe this weekend and the other weekend. Haven't looked at the whistle, because this is this pump's probably a bit of a priority. Get this pump back on, we might have another look at the whistle and get that finished. I'll make some serious progress on it anyway. Anyway, idle and hollow promises. I do promise to have this done. The weekend after, I would like very much to have the roller in steam. That's the aim there. So that's what we're working towards. I think it's doable, very doable. Now, Shenandoah Steam Shed. There are things happening there, as far as getting on a little bit firmer footing, equipment and financially wise. I'm not going to say too much, but there are things that we're going to go ahead with, or we're going to look into very closely. And Fridge is doing a lot of homework on that. More as it comes up, but there's certainly things going down, and I'm absolutely on board with that. But hopefully it doesn't eat into my spare time too much, or anyone's, and that's what we're sort of working towards. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. It's going to be pretty cool. It's going to happen. The fridge has been pretty crazy busy with all that stuff. I'm not going to say too much, but it's all happening. And it might be very nice to have at some point a better location and a little bit stronger footing and housing for equipment. But we'll see what happens with that. In the meantime, I've got to figure out a traction roller to get back in steam and a water cart to move from Sydney. If anyone's coming up from the north side of Sydney, Berrily in particular, out near the gorge, if anyone's coming north from there with a truck or a decent big trailer with a backload and wants to make a few dollars, put your hand up. I got a quote to move the water cart from Berrily up to Grafton, and that was with a guy going down to pick it up and going down to collect it and bringing it back, and that was a bit extravagant to the point that might not happen. Worst case scenario, we've got it there and we've just got to let him know and he'll be there. Probably not be there on time, but he'll be there. He's pretty good like that. So if anyone's coming up with a trailer or a truck, be very, very keen to be in touch with him. So if you know anyone who's doing a backload or has got a tilt track or a ramp trailer or whatever that they can load it on, apparently it's not falling apart, so you can actually just winch it apart around, and it's in a place where you can actually pick it up now. Hit us up because I've got some cash, absolutely, for a cartage. And worst case scenario, I could just take a car, go down and hire a car trailer and bring it back and drop the car trailer off in Grafton after it's unloaded. So that's something that might happen too. But it's fairly wide, I guess, is the problem. If it wasn't 2 meters wide, we'd be thinking about it pretty heavy. But it'd probably go on a standard car trailer without too many problems. It's certainly lighter than most cars. So 2 meters by 2.2 tall, 2 meters wide, 2.2 tall, 3.2 long, and it weighs about a tonne to tonne and a half maximum. So anyone got thoughts about whether they'd put that on a hire trailer for 1,000 kilometres, let me know. It's not quite 1,000, it's about 800. I'd like some feedback on that. We're towing it behind a transit van, which is only 2.2 litre, which is going to put my fuel bill through the roof too. So anyway, that's what's happening. That's how that's going on. Don't forget that I've got 2 live streams a week for a little while anyway. One's CAD projects. We're going to get into some projects eventually when we've sort of had a sniff around and worked out how everything works. If you're keen or you're up for that or you're interested in learning the CAD program, it might be worth a look. That's Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, which was last night, about the same time. And we have a live stream on Wednesday night, which is just general workshop catch up and stuff. So anyone who's keen, thanks heaps for signing in and having a look. They've got 14 people here tonight and 10 likes, which is pretty awesome. Really appreciate you tuning in. Anyway, who's got a video up? Was there a Nigel video this week? I haven't seen that. Maybe there was. There's certainly a Bill video. I saw a Bill video from Bill Baggins. I haven't watched it yet, but it's only been up a little while. I'm going to go and watch it now. Who else had a video? Did you have a video, Chirp? Tea and Biscuits, did you have a video? Who else is in the chat that might have had a video? Trying to think, but I don't see everything. There was a Mark Shed Talk video, and he's got a live tomorrow night. So check that out. He's got a live at, I don't know, I think it's 8 o'clock. And he had a video uploaded as well, I think this last week. Anyway, don't rely on me to remember them. If you've got a video you want to plug, put it in the comments, because I'll read that and I'll remind everyone. There's a Rust Knox video, that's excellent too. There was a Mark Presso video, I saw that. I'm expecting a car build video at least at some point from Tea and Biscuits. You said it now, so you can't go back. You can't get out of that. Anyway, that's what's happening. Bill was drunk yesterday and made a video, which is great if that's all it takes. We all should get drunk more often. I also saw some knife work come back out of Bill's workshop in the last 24 hours, so that's a bit exciting. Mark generally posts on Thursday night, but there was one there last Thursday as well, I think. Anyway, I think I'm done. Winky broke his ankle. I saw that too. That's very true. Anyway, I might call this, guys. Thanks heaps for tuning in. Really appreciate the support and the banter and whatever else. I've just talked for an hour and I don't think I've actually really told anyone anything. But I might go and sit down and watch some videos, and maybe I'll say hello on Discord before I go to sleep. But anyway, be kind to each other. Thanks, guys, for your patience. We've changed into something else and got a truck half built. But next week we should, you can kick my backside if I haven't got this going. So I should absolutely have this going next weekend without any problems at all. There's not a lot more to do, and the job that's got to be done is yeah. The only job really left to do is this, and they're half made. So it's a matter of putting some holes in it and putting some profiles on them. Not a big job, fitting them up, getting it all going. Anyway, I'm out. Thanks, guys. Be kind to each other. Don't buy a water cart or a steamroller or a big old slow English truck or horse or anything else. And we'll catch you on the flip side. So thanks, guys. I'm out.